Nolan, it's nice to have you on here, man. Would you introduce yourself for people who may not know you?
Yeah, sure. As you just mentioned, my name is Nolan. I'm 24 years old. I'm from the United States. I was born in Washington, D.C. I currently reside in Scottsdale, Arizona. I have essentially been currently, right now, I'm the CEO and founder of FutureFi. We are an AI financial platform designed to help everyday people essentially master the financial markets. And we do this through providing high level financial education and AI driven solutions. On a personal side of things, I've been day trading. I'm a day trader, predominantly, my main focus is US 30 or the Dow Jones. I started learning about day trading when I was around 16, 17 years old. And I didn't end up buying my first stock though until I was 19. And as soon as I bought my first stock, I had to sell it within like 2 weeks because I was like, I don't have enough money. I shouldn't have bought the stock. And thankfully, though, luckily speaking, within those 2 weeks, I was actually able to make a $5 to $10 return on the stocks in which that I purchased. And that kind of sparked the idea in my head of this is something that I enjoy. Especially coming from other businesses that I've started and ran in the past and businesses that I've sold and so on and so forth. So trading has always been kind of something I have a knack for, something that I actually enjoy. So bought my first stock at 19, became a profitable trader at 21, and since then I run multiple different businesses. I've generated well over 6, 7 figures on the business side of things as well as within day trading. And yeah, I'm 24 years old. I don't know if I mentioned that already or not.
Mm, yes, yes. So we're gonna get into all of that later on, but first of all, I want to start from the beginning. What was your childhood like?
My childhood was pretty normal. Nothing too crazy happened to me growing up. Had a loving mom, loving dad. Both of them worked extremely hard. Both of them are extremely smart, and they instilled in me a lot of life lessons that I carry on with me today. Lessons such as being a man of your word, having integrity, and two major lessons that I still practice to this day is that my father had a saying, and that was, basically all we're doing is putting the puzzles together. Everything in
Mm,
life. So that's really all it comes down to: just putting the puzzles together and then just working the problem. That's really about it. And then my
mm.
mother instilled in me some serious work ethic. So those are two main lessons that I learned as a kid, and I carry with me for me today.
What's like one childhood memory that makes you smile to this day?
Um, a childhood memory. Um, Trying to think. I don't know why I'm blanking out right now. I wouldn't necessarily say like there's a specific memory that I'm fond of or
Mm,
I can remember distinctly. More so just the feeling and just the understanding that everybody around me was always supportive of what it was that I was trying to do.
mm.
I think that's probably the best answer I can give.
So who'd you look up to as a kid?
Absolutely nobody. I
Ah.
had I didn't look up to anybody. There wasn't a specific individual or a number of individuals that I looked up to and
Mm,
admired or had a role model for. There were, certain celebrities that I enjoyed watching that, I kind of went out of my way to like watch a movie on that they were in or whatever the case may be, but I didn't necessarily have any role models, which isn't a bad thing. I think Alex Ramosi talked about it in a podcast at some point in time, but for
mm,
me, it was more so like I was an observant kid. So I was watching and looking and kind of mentally taking notes on what not to do. And so kind of just doing essentially the opposite of what was around me in regards to going to school or whatever the case may be, but no specific role models.
mm. So, like, what'd you want to do as a kid? Did you have like an idea? Because before you got into entrepreneurship, obviously, you probably had
Hmm.
some of those childhood dreams, or did you not?
Sure. My very first dream that I ever had in regards to being a kid was being a NASCAR driver. That was my very
Oh.
first dream ever. I wanted to be a race car driver. And the reason why was because I like cars. It's kind of like a side
Mm,
passion of mine. I enjoy looking at cars. I enjoy talking about cars. I enjoy the driving experience.
mm,
So that was like I guess technically speaking, my first ever dream. But around like 10 or 11, growing up, experienced a bit of financial trouble. So it was at
Mm.
around that age where I realized that my dream is just to be able to not only provide for myself, but also provide for the people around me. So that was always kind of like my main goal, at that young of an age. And so how that manifested into what it is today, I mean, that I didn't think so, but the goal even at that young of age was we got to make some money, for lack of better terms.
Mm. So, how did you get into entrepreneurship in general? Like, how did you start even like what building that desire to become an entrepreneur in general, and not just going through a school system and then getting a 9 to 5 like most people do? You know.
Yeah, I think how I got into it was for two main reasons. The first reason is that I'm always somebody who tends to think a lot, and whenever I think about something or have an idea of some kind, I want to run through that process of how it looks. So if I have an
Mm-hmm.
idea to do something, I want to imagine myself doing it and then
Yeah.
imagine myself feeling doing the action or whatever the case may be, and then just see how I feel. And if it gives me a feeling of gratitude or gives me a feeling of happiness, then I would try it in real life. And also just constantly just thinking and asking myself really difficult questions. When you ask yourself enough questions, I think ultimately
Mm-hmm.
you get to a place where you're like, I got to start doing my own thing. At some point,
Yeah.
I think most people don't become entrepreneurs, not only just because of the fact that it's very difficult, but also just because of the fact of the process to even think you can do that. You're asking yourself a
Mm.
ton of questions. And I think a lot of people just don't naturally do that, which is fine, but I don't think a lot of people naturally do that. So the first, that was essentially the first way. And then the second way is just by trying things. I don't think
Mm.
people understand the
Oh shit! So you got kicked out. Let me let me fix that and send him the link back. This stuff happens. Yo yo.
Oh, there you go.
Ah,
Cool. We're all good.
this stuff happens sometimes.
Back to what yeah, no worries. Back to what I was saying. The second thing that led me into entrepreneurship was continuously trying something. It was always
Mm.
like, okay, I'm gonna try this and I'm gonna see how it is. Because I never wanted a lesson that I learned growing up was you can't really say you don't like something or you don't want to do something until you actually try it. And as cliche
Yeah.
as that sounds, I took that literally. So I was like, okay, well, let me try different things. So I've done a number of odd jobs in my life. I've been a
Mm.
dishwasher, I've been a server, I've been a garbage man, I have been an Amazon warehouse factory worker. I've done other warehouse work. I've done some manual labor jobs. I've done everything. And
Mm.
when I made the full fledged decision around like 19, 20 years old to become a full time entrepreneur, at that point in time, I had already worked like a dog in the corporate world. I had already
Oh
done a
yeah.
lot of different things. So I now know I kind of had like a decent scope of, okay, here's what's out there. And then I haven't really tried this yet. Let me go ahead and try that. And then when I started trying it, I realized, okay, I actually like this. I have a natural knack for it. And I'm going to go ahead and just continue to grow and just see where it takes me. Worst case scenario, I can go back at any point in time. Best case scenario, I never even have to think about it ever again.
Mm. So what was like the first thing you started doing? Did you try anything else before getting into trading? Did you like I don't know, try
Oh
to get
yeah,
into
yeah,
ah
yeah, for sure. I mean, being a day trader, it was a natural progression because the first really thing of entrepreneurship that I did was buying and reselling shoes. That was kind of my thing.
oh yeah.
So I didn't have a I didn't have a lot of money to necessarily buy brand new shoes or even the time to wait in line because this was before sneaker bots. Right now there's sneaker bots that can just put all your stuff in and everything like that. This was really before sneaker bots actually were good. So people were still, sneaker resellers were still waiting in line at places. So I started that first, and because I didn't even have a lot of money at that point in time, I got innovative. So I would buy kind of like sneakers that were kind of old or dirty, and I would just clean them up and resell it. So I continued to do that, and I was just making money hand over fist. So long as I bought the right shoe, refurbished it,
Mm.
made it look brand new, I knew I was getting a sale. So I was like, okay, I like the aspect of selling, but what I don't like now is the amount of money that I'm making, because I think my profit
Mm.
margins were like maybe 25 to max $75 per shoe. And I'm
Okay.
like, okay, I gotta, each shoe takes around an hour to clean. Some shoes might take a little longer. Some shoes might take a day because I have to wait for them to dry. Like the process, I was like, okay,
Mm.
I'm making $100 a day and I'm basically working still 6 to 7 hours. I'm basically getting paid a normal job. So that
Mm.
math's not
Yes.
mathing, and that math's not adding up. Let me go ahead and see what else I can do. So I kept asking myself questions and questions and questions. And so I've done after that, I opened up my own Shopify store, e-commerce before obviously the big boom was around. I sold like privacy iPhone cases. And then I got my first sale online and I was like, oh, okay, well, I like this a lot. I didn't need to do anything, at least manually speaking. So I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and go down this route. So then I went from, having my own little side hustle to then like now having the side hustle be online. And now
Mm.
I'm like, okay, great. Now what's the next progression after that? And
Yeah.
then after that, it was just a number of different kind of like side hustles that I've done. Like I've done Amazon FBA, then I've done car rentals.
Mm.
So I did a lot of different like mainstream side hustles that you can think of. And then ultimately I just got serious with myself and I said, okay, what is something that I can do that really
Mm.
has no limit to how much money I can make? Like that was the
Mm.
thought process that I had. And then I started, looking at the Forbes list. I started looking at different people and seeing how they built their net worths. And I mean, I just think remember to this day being on the Forbes page, and like on page, not like the first main page, but like the second page, there were like 12 names in a row. It was like wealth management, asset management, financial this, you know, private
Yeah.
equity, da 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 da. And I was like, okay, well, if there's 12 people in a row with this on there, I need to figure out that whatever that is. So, but that's essentially how I got into trading as
Hmm.
well. And then my stepfather, he was trading at the time too. He was buying and selling stocks, so he taught me as well.
So, why do you think you stuck with trading instead of like again not being something you overlook? Why do you think this was the thing that like stuck for you?
Because it was difficult, because it
Oh.
wasn't as easy as the other business models that I've done in the past. I mean, when I've done Amazon FBA, I made, close to $30,000 within not 60 days of me starting the store. It was boring. I got bored. I didn't let,
Mm.
as cliche and as kind of crazy that may sound, it was a boring business model and I
Oh.
just didn't like it. And I tried Turo car rentals, made around $2,000 within my first month off of one car. It was great, but then the problems of managing people and managing business and managing the car itself, that was a
Yeah.
hassle. The overhead on it was kind of higher than what I liked it to be. Um, so trading is hard, and um, I played basketball at the college level, and if I did that and that was extremely difficult, then in my mind I'm like I know I could figure this out. So it's the fact that trading is hard, and because it's hard, when you are correct, it's more rewarding. And then knowing on top of the fact that if I just give this the time that it needs, I know I can become, one of the greatest traders of our generation.
So there are a lot of people that may not know what trading is. So would you explain in a nutshell what trading is, what it's about, for people who may not actually know anything about trading?
Trading, to put it in the simplest terms possible, is someone who tries to predict the performance of a stock, currency, commodity, or index on any given time frame of the day, whether that be within the hour, within a few minutes, a few seconds. Sometimes it
Mm.
could be longer. You can predict the performance of how it's going to be in a week, in a month, so on and so forth. And essentially, to make the prediction, you leverage a percentage of your account. And if you are correct, then you will make money. And then if you're
Mm.
incorrect, then you lost whatever you decided to leverage for that day. So if you leverage 2% on your portfolio, and you were incorrect in the prediction of Tesla stock for that given day, then you'll lose that 2%. So that's the
Mm.
simplest way of essentially explaining trading, what trading is.
Mm. So what was like the biggest mistakes you did like when you started? Like, what's the biggest mistake that somebody can do as when they start trading?
The biggest mistake they can do is not be realistic with themselves, because
Mm.
in the world of social media, I'm fully aware of the benefits that there are to it. We get to meet people, we get to have conversations, we're able to connect with one another and share different ideas. And that's all great. And that does happen every single day. But at the same time, there are a lot of people who have such false representations of who they are, and it's honestly just deteriorating at their own success. So the biggest mistake somebody can make when it comes to day trading is having really false expectations, right? You can become a millionaire in day trading, but that doesn't mean
Mm.
literally you will become a millionaire in day trading,
Mm.
right? It's you are deciding to chase wealth in the most difficult way to produce income possible. This isn't like anything else you've ever done. And just because it's possible doesn't mean that it's even the best thing for you. And so a lot of people, what they have just a rude awakening when they start day trading, because of the fact that it just completely destroys all their preconceived notions. And then they get, discouraged, and then they quit, and then they, will talk about the fact that they tried doing it and that they'll never do it again. When in reality, the
Mm.
reason why you failed was because you didn't even have decent enough, you didn't even have, a good approach to it. You thought X, Y, and Z, but at the end of the day, it's like you're basing that off of what you see on social media rather than talking to an expert, talking to a professional, or looking to see what this even is before you even threw some money at it. So the biggest mistake people can get
Mm.
is not being realistic about it.
So there was one thing that you said that that actually caught my interest is you said that trading is the hardest or the most difficult way to make money. Why would you say that is?
Yes. It's the most difficult way to make money, not on a conceptual level. Conceptually
Mm.
speaking, trading is relatively simple, right? You just make, if you have a decent strategy and you're not that emotional and you're consistent and understand compounding, you will be a successful day trader. But for everyday people, because at the end of the day, right, if you want to become a professional trader, you don't even go the same route as everyday people. You go to school, you get your credentials, then you go straight
Mm.
to a financial firm, and then you trade. And then they teach you exactly what to do, and you just do exactly that. And they have information, they
Mm.
get real time data, and so on and so forth. People like us, retail traders, it's very difficult for them to do this because of the fact that this is not, it's a rude awakening. So it is the hardest
Or
way for most average people to make money because it's nothing like anything we've ever done before. It's not even like a traditional business, because
mm.
when a traditional business, if you pay enough in marketing, yeah, you'll get a sale, you
Mm.
know. Like you could go ahead and spend $20,000 this month if you had it on an ad that could be a really sucky ad. It could be the worst
Mm.
fitness ad of all time. And you could post that up on Facebook. I still guarantee you by the end of the month, you'll get at least one call. You'll go
Mm.
ahead and get at least one booked person, right? I know that for a fact. You know that for a fact.
Yeah.
In the world of trading, that's not how it works, because
Mm.
rather than it's more so about you not only understanding who you are, but it's also about understanding what's going on in the world with people who actually have money, with people who actually know what they're doing. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And so it's the learning curve to it is very difficult for pretty much everybody. That's why it's the
Mm.
hardest way to really make money, because the learning curve is something that people have never experienced before.
Interesting. So, what would you say that is like a big misconception or a myth about trading that's just not true, but people still believe it?
I mean, there's a lot of misconceptions about trading, but I think the biggest misconception people have, I don't know, that's tough.
Honestly, I always keep hearing like trading is like gambling, and I feel like it's more nuanced than that. It's not gambling, like. But this is what I keep hearing.
It is more nuanced than that. I mean, I'll speak on that point. To answer your little question, my brain's going in so many different directions. It's kind of hard to answer that. But in this, but to continue off of your point, it's not. It is a bit of a nuance, because for
Mm.
example, a 17-year-old who's launching his own business online and who
Mm.
wants to be able to generate leads for his fitness brand, That's a gamble for a lot of people. You're taking a
Mm.
risk, right? And a gamble essentially implies that the risk has not been calculated. It's
Mm.
essentially you're a whimsical towards it, you know? You're just like,
Yeah.
okay, like the act of actually gambling at a casino, you don't know what the odds are. You're
Yeah.
literally, it's a 50, you know, it's not even a 50-50 when you go to a
Yeah.
casino. It's the odds are even more insane, right? But gambling is only gambling when you haven't calculated the risks and when you haven't even rolled the dice long enough to know even what those risks are, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like you can talk to anybody who's an entrepreneur, anybody who essentially is in charge of their own income. Yeah, in the beginning, it was a damn gamble, right?
Mm.
I'm rolling the dice, I'm taking this risk because if it doesn't work out, it all falls on me and I have nobody to blame. There is no
Mhm.
security. And so when people say trading's like gambling, you can apply that to really anything because there is no security when it comes to this. Even
Mm.
professionals lose every single day.
Yeah.
But the thing is that gambling is only gambling until you understand the risk behind it. Then at that point, it's probability, and then the
Mm.
probability kind of swing towards in your favor. And that's really how it is. I mean, even if somebody was working a normal job every single day, they gamble with their life. You getting in that car, you trusting some bum at 8 o'clock in the morning who hates his life to not crash into you. You think that will
Yeah.
never happen? You're taking a gamble every day. The only difference between us is
Mm.
that our gambles are a bit riskier, and you know we don't have a safety net. Many of us, so that's why I think a lot of people say it's gambling. But it is. That's the nuance behind it, at least in my opinion.
Mm. So, did you have a mentor, or did you figure it out all by your own?
I didn't have a mentor, but I also didn't figure it out all on my own. You know, I had people along the way that I've met who are a lot smarter than me, who had a lot more money than I did.
Mm.
And when I met those people, kind of like what you're doing right now, I just asked questions. And all I did
Mm.
was just allocate as much information as I possibly could. And then
Yeah.
anything that I could apply, I applied. Anything that I couldn't, I would try to innovate it so that way I could apply it as quickly as possible. Because at the end of the day, all I had to my name was just my hard work. And so if you have that, you get pretty creative and innovative. You know, that's where all the innovation happens
Mm.
in life, anyways. When you got no money, when you got nothing else to do, when you got nothing to lose, that's where all the creativity
Yeah.
comes from. You know, a lot of people think, you know, you need $20 million before you start getting creative. It's
Mm.
like, nah, you get $20 million, you don't know how to act properly. Go ahead and be broke for a while, start from scratch.
Wow.
You'll get very creative and innovative pretty easily.
So, speaking of creativity, there's this thing going around called copy trading. Did you hear about that? And what do you think about copy trading? Like somebody copying other people's trades and selling
Oh,
it.
like kind of like a signals group, basically.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the idea is perfectly fine, right? Because it doesn't matter what level you're on. You have to learn from somebody. You have to learn from something. There is a reference. When you don't know
Yeah.
what you're doing, you need a reference. It doesn't matter
Mm.
what it is that you want to learn how to do. You need help with it, right? And so subconsciously we take references all the time, you know? Like the only reason why I want a Lamborghini, for example, isn't because of the fact that I made up the Lamborghini in my head. I saw a Lamborghini outside, so I
Mm.
use that as a reference. You know. So in regards to copy trading, it all listen. If you're serious about your craft and you're serious about what you want to do in life, you are going to push through any obstacles they may be. There's all this debate within the
Yeah.
trading community that I don't even listen to and I don't care about. Why? Because at the end of the day, I'm focused on making sure I win and that I'm successful. I could care less who's sending out signals. I can care less whatever's going on. If you're somebody who's serious about understanding this craft, then yeah, you're going to get scammed in some way, shape, or form. But it's not about avoiding that. It's about knowing you're going to go through that and then continuing to chase
Mm.
down the path of financial freedom. That's the point. Now, in
Yeah.
regards to copy trading, I mean, again, there are a lot of guys out there who don't know what they're doing. And they are, I mean, arguably speaking, when you look at their back end, actually, when you look at their analytics, their Discord groups, you see that number that they really have, not their Instagram follower count, the number in their Discord and the number in their
Mm.
Telegram, that accurately reflects what it is that they really know. Because if they knew what they were talking about, they would have a lot more people in there. And so, you
Mm.
know, I've seen back ends of Discords and I've seen back ends of trading groups. And it's like there are guys who have 1 million followers or 400,000 followers on Instagram, and I got more people in my Discord than they do. You want to know why?
Mm.
It's because they don't know what they're talking about. And so ultimately, they're just lying to themselves at the end of the day. But for the consumers who are out there who want to learn how to trade, I do view copy trading as something that is helpful. All you have to do is not research. All you have to do is just research the person. Do actual
Mm.
research on them. Dig through their Instagram. Interrogate the heck out of them, right? If they got something for free, look at the thing for free. If it's somewhat decent, okay, take away and take the chance, you know? But you're going to have to take risk anyways when you're on this level. It's not about, you know, it's not about, dealing with it. It's not about avoiding whatever's going to happen. It's about how you manage it. So that's the main focus for
Mm.
everybody.
So you help people with trading too. So I want to ask you about what's like the craziest success story from a student, because I looked through testimonials and it's like really impressive stuff. But I was like, do you have like a really interesting success story of one of your students?
A crazy success story. I got about two, right? I think the first
Mm.
one happened not that long ago. So I have a friend of mine who is a current student of mine. His name's Ricky, and basically he has been trading for 3 years, and for 3 years he had just not seen the results that he had wanted to. He was just
Mm.
struggling, and he was like, I'm so sick and tired of losing accounts, blowing accounts. And I was like, listen, we're going to take our time. We're going to go ahead and we're going to get through this. And at the end of the day, we're here together, right? If you need anything, I'm here to help. Because at that point, he wasn't even paying me to even just help him teach him, right? And at this point in time, I don't really care anymore. But it was just 3 years of him failing. And then actually, I think it was like a few months ago, he finally passed his first ever funded trading account. And man, that gave him the confidence he actually needed to start seeing success. So that is probably not like financially speaking, the greatest sort of story ever. But that's one that means a lot to me because for 3 years, this
Mm.
guy was, really kind of going through it. And the fact that he was able to see success and come out on top and actually do the
Mm.
thing that he wanted to do, that just lets me know that he actually really does want this. And he's always
Mm.
wanted this. And he's not going to stop until he reaches the ultimate goal. So that's probably the best story that I have, success story wise. I mean, financially speaking, I mean, I've had students that have done, $20,000 days, $400,000 months. Like, it really just kind of depends. You know what I mean? Because I've talked to people who, because there's no like demographic for traders, right? A lot of people think they're 18, 19-year olds. It's like, no, you got guys who are 45 years old who just sold their construction company and want to learn how to day trade, or you got guys who are or you have doctors who are, have their own practice and maybe it's a bit slow or it's pretty small and they want to do something with their time, maybe manage their income and so on and so
Yes.
forth. There are guys out there with real money that want to learn how to trade. So, at the end of the day, those guys, I've helped coach a few of them. And again, they've made a lot of money really quickly, but they have more to begin with. So, but those are probably the best stories I got for you.
Hmm. That's interesting. So why do you think like some people quit, like that get into trading and they quit within like a few months, maybe a few weeks even, or maybe within like the first year? Or how often is like the what's like the time frame where the majority of people quit, and why do you think some people quit?
I would say it depends on your age, right?
Mm.
Because I think if you're a lot younger, the time frame in which you quit day trading is going to be a lot shorter than somebody who's, let's say, in their 30s. And the reason why is because of the seriousness that an 18-year-old has versus the seriousness of a 35-year-old when it comes to spending money. And also the lack of funds as well.
Oh
So time
yeah.
frame, it really just depends. In my experience, people who are not realistic and who, respectfully speaking, have no money, they're done
Mm.
within like a few weeks. And that's just because of the fact that they're just not realistic. I mean, that's why
Mm.
when people say most traders fail, it's because they're not realistic with their expectations, right? This isn't something that's that difficult. You can
Mm.
do it. You just need to prepare yourself to do it. And just people don't do that. So that's why there's so many traders who fail and
Mm.
so many of them who just spend all this money because they don't know what they're doing and they don't know how to take anything seriously. That's really the only reason why.
Hmm. That's interesting. So, was there any point where you wanted to quit?
Oh yeah, duh. Yeah, I remember one. Yeah, I remember last year I lost $160,000. Like that
Oh
that that
shit.
broke that broke my heart when I did that. And I mean I was extremely upset. It was something that I had to just continue to go through. It was something that I really had to just push myself through at the end of the day. Because again, the entrepreneurial mindset I have is, all right, what's the alternative? I lost
Yeah.
160 grand. I got two options here. Either you go make it back up, or you get your ass in the car and drive to whatever corporate office you want to and start saying, hey, how you doing? I need a job right now. Just to let you know.
Mm.
Those are the two options you got at that point in time, you know. So you handle your business. You go ahead and you just keep on pushing through. Because at the end of the day, it's the only reason I'm going to get the money back. That's the only way I'm gonna get the money back. So I gotta go get it. So yeah, there have been plenty of times where I want to quit, or at least felt like I
Mm.
really don't know what I'm doing. But at the end of the day, I also looked at the alternative of what my life could be like, and that terrifies me more than losing any dollar amount
Mm.
when it comes to trading.
Holy shit, man! 160 grand. Like, how did that happen? How does that
I got, I
happen?
got extremely greedy. I was on a bit of a run for a few months, and I got a little too confident. I started kind of spoiling a little money on myself. Like I was starting to
Mm.
buy, a little designer clothing, and I was starting to, feel real good, take trips. I
Mm.
was like, I feel like I'm the guy, because prior to that, even in my other businesses, I never really spent money like that. I was always a huge saver. And then I
Mm.
started seeing a lot bigger numbers, and I was like, oh, cool. I'm gonna go ahead and I can now actually, on paper, afford to spend this. So when I
Mm.
did, I was like, my confidence and my greed just went through the roof. And
Mm.
so essentially, I was just, I had shorted the Dow Jones that month. I was in a monthly long term trade because at that point I had enough capital in my trading accounts where I was like, okay, I can go ahead and instead of doing daily trades, I can go ahead and enter positions for month, for like a month or two months on end.
Mm.
So I'd enter in a position on a monthly contract, and basically at that point, I was like, it's gonna go back up, it's gonna go back up, and then first week it was down 15,000, second week 60,000, third week I was like, I could do it, and then by the end of that month, I had lost a decent portion of my account, so I was like,
Mm.
I'm gonna go ahead and I have to close this out now. But that was a lot of money to me back then. That was the most I ever lost
Mm.
in that short amount of time frame as well.
Fucking hell, like, I can't even imagine. Like, did it feel like surreal in that moment? Like,
It's it didn't feel surreal because the thing about it is that it's not like I didn't know that was going to happen. It
mm.
wasn't like a huge shock, right? If
Oh shit.
anything, it was just more so me being annoyed, because like when
Ah.
something like that happens to traders, it's not like we didn't think or know that might happen. Like, we knew that was going to happen. We just chose to ignore it. So because you
Mm.
chose to ignore it, right? That's what happens. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So that essentially, it wasn't a surreal moment. I was just really annoyed at myself,
Mm.
and ultimately, I didn't even pick up a trade. I didn't even enter into a trade for like 3 or 4 months afterwards. I really didn't
Oh.
because I was like, this is actually the first time I ever did this. So let me stop and let me go ahead and reevaluate exactly what happened and just ultimately make sure it never happens again.
Fucking hell. That's
Yeah.
holy shit.
But yeah, you just move on from it, man. And since then I've made the money back. I've became a better person. And ultimately I understand that as well. I understand the fact that if I'm not struggling in some way, shape, or form, then I'm not growing. If I'm not annoyed,
Mm.
I'm not doing what I need to get done. So ultimately
Okay.
losing that money is just it's a short thing in the long run.
So, how do you get through the days where you really don't fucking feel like
You think about the alternative and you think
it?
about it long enough. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
I'm extremely pragmatic. It's basically
Mm.
pretty simple for me. It's like, okay, for example, I remember when I first moved out to Arizona, I was homeless for about 8 months, and it was really difficult on me. If I could sleep in somebody's house, great. If not, I had to sleep in my car, and if not, I had to sleep outside, like whatever the case may
Mm.
be. And there would be times where I wake up and I'm like in my car, and it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and I need to start driving, trying to figure out a way to make some money that day. So there'd be times where I'm like, I just want to sit in this car and do nothing. So then I ask myself,
Mm.
do you want to sit in this car and do nothing? And I would
Mm.
say no. And then it's like, okay, so then get to moving. I'm pretty pragmatic with this, right? So And and that's essentially just discipline. That's where I go to maintain my discipline, is thinking of the alternative. Okay, great. You don't want to do this. Like in your case, you don't want to, let's say you at some point in time you don't want to work out today. Okay,
Yeah.
great. What's the alternative? What are you going to do instead of working out today? I don't know. Well, figure that out. I'm gonna sit on my laptop and just watch videos all day long. Okay. Do you want to do that? Do you think you'll feel happy doing that? No. Okay, great. Then get your ass up and go to the gym. And so that's how I talk to myself. I'm just real pragmatic with it. So what's the alternative? Do you want to
Yeah.
do that? Yes or no? And most of the time, the answer is no. So that's why you keep doing this one thing you want to do, you know?
You know,
And then occasionally, I'm sorry to cut you off.
okay.
Very rarely, occasionally, you look back for half a second just to see what you've done so far and remind yourself that this is why you're doing it in the first place. Very
Ah.
occasionally, though. You don't do it too often. You don't do it every week. You don't do it every month. You probably do it maybe once a year. And that's either the beginning or end of the year. And then you just look back for half a second. You see what you've done. Okay, great. This is why I'm doing it. And then you keep going.
Yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, it's like a logical way to look at life, I feel like a lot of people um that come from like upper middle class, let's say, they
Mm-hmm.
always, how should I say, they don't have that innate mindset where if I want something, I go get it. No, they are like used to. I want the new Jordans. I just ask my mom, and she'll buy it for me. If I want something, somebody else is gonna do it for me, and they don't have like uh, that automatic mindset. If I want something, I need to do something for it. I need to go get it. But people that come from upper middle class or maybe even rich kids, they are used to, if they want something, they ask someone to get it for them. And then so when something feels hard, when they're finally like adults, or that when they're finally like trying to do stuff on their own, that's when they struggle because they're like, oh, I don't feel like doing something. And subconsciously they're thinking, oh, somehow it's gonna happen. Somehow the universe is just gonna give it to me. And I feel like this is the most important thing that people have to learn how to unlearn out of their subconscious mind.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, I think people who are wealthy,
Mm.
it's very difficult. I think, arguably speaking, they have a 10 times more difficult life than somebody who grew up dead broke.
How
Because the
come?
thing is, to go from nothing to something is actually an easier process than from going from something to nothing. It's way of an easier process, and I'll explain why.
Hmm.
When you have nothing, right? It's essentially a dream for you to get to the next level. And so you have nothing to lose, right? Like when you start from nothing, like let's say
Yeah.
you're a kid who grew up in a third world country and you got nothing to your name. And let's say your dream is to become a famous actor in the United States. Okay, great. You got nothing to lose. That there's literally no other worse alternative for you. You're like, there's only one way to go. It's a pretty simple straight shot. You're like, I can't be
Mm.
worse. Worse than where I'm at now is literally just being dead. That's the worst
Mm.
case scenario. But I'm at the bottom. So because I'm at the bottom, it's like I have nothing to lose. Why not? Like, why wouldn't I do this? It's almost like it doesn't make sense for you not to actually
Yeah.
go and try to be the best version of yourself, right? It doesn't make any sense not to do that. So when you have nothing, then building on something, it's just you know what it's like to have nothing. Then when you get things, you appreciate them even more. And then the further along you get into life, it's a lot easier. When you have something and when you have everything, do you know how difficult it is to then say,
Mm.
I don't want everything? Like people are going to look at you like you're crazy, even your
Ah.
friends, right? You have to make, in order to learn the same lesson as somebody who has nothing and you have everything, you're making the conscious decision to say, I don't want the things that people are literally begging for. Like
Mm.
that is insane. You know what I mean? And so it's like, and also just the need to really want something more, it doesn't exist, right? And it doesn't exist because of the fact that you've never had to, you that's never been a problem for you. And I don't really hate, I'm not going to sit here and hate on people like rich kids or extremely wealthy, the one percenters. I'm not going to hate on them because I'm not, because there was somebody in your life or in your family
Mm.
who was at nothing and then they got something and you're just a byproduct of it. You can't control that. You didn't control when you came into this earth. I'm not going to hate on you for that. But somebody who has everything has literally, like, is literally giving up what everybody else who has nothing wants. And to make that decision, that is way harder to do. So, um, it's like that's why a lot of wealthy people tend to be, I think, a lot more miserable than broke people, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
I think that's why a lot of wealthy people, they have different types of problems. Like they go to drugs, or they go to alcohol, or they just go to do whatever the case may be. Like the story of a rich kid who's going to rehab. We've heard that 1.5 million times, right? Like how many, I don't know many rich kids who go to rehab, come back, and then make a better life for themselves. I don't know many of those types of stories. We know plenty of stories, though, of broke kids who went to jail, did whatever, and then came out on top and never went back. We know that all day long. We hear those stories way more than the other version of it. You know what I mean? But that's at least my perspective of
Yeah,
things.
I get it. So that's an interesting perspective, man. Holy shit, I never thought about it that way. Yeah.
Hmm.
So you mentioned discipline for a second. Some people say that. Oh my goodness, some people use it as an excuse. Some people say, I personally believe that discipline is like a skill, a knife that has to be sharpened or it gets dull over time. Like if you take too many days off, eventually you're gonna get more used to it. But there are some people that
Hmm.
say, oh, discipline is this born in trait, and some people are just disciplined and it's easy for them. It's like that just beats the whole purpose of the word, the definition of the word. But in my opinion, there are some people that say that discipline is a born trait, and some people that say that it's a skill that you learn through life. What's your stance on it?
Yeah, discipline. So I understand the perspective of discipline being a born trait, because some people are
Mm-hmm.
born just with that dog in them. Some people just got it like that. Some people just got a motor in them that they can just be running and running and running. Like they just wake up and they get to it, and that's just how they are. It's very rare to see that, but it happens. But to answer your question, discipline is not a born trait. Discipline is something you learn. It is something that you master. It's something that you grow. Because to have discipline, that means you are willing to do something every single day that, arguably speaking, there's some aspect of it that you hate with a passion.
Mm.
You hate it. Me, for example, I cannot stand posting content. I hate social media in every single aspect of life. And there have been many times where I'm like, I really could just fall off the face of the earth, take my trading account, and call it a day.
Mm.
But then I realized, that wouldn't be like, then who am I in life? I wouldn't be doing my life's purpose. I wouldn't be following what I'm meant to do. Um, but trading, no, no, no. Discipline, yeah, discipline is literally the act of you doing something that every single day that you don't like to do. You're
Mm.
not born with that, because it's natural for you not to do things that you don't want to do. Like for people who say it's a born trait, I'm like, that's the stupidest thing ever. Discipline is literally you doing things you don't want to do.
Mm.
And as a child, if you don't want to do something, what did you do? You cried, you threw a fit, you avoided it. It's human nature to do that. It's literally an innate, it's literally an innate thing. That's how it is. It's a human behavior. So when people say discipline is a born trait, I'm like, I've never. First of all, I've never heard of that in my life. Second of all, if that has been said, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. But it's like, yeah, no, discipline is something. Is again, it's the act of you doing something you don't want to do every single day.
Mm.
So it goes back to my other points that I said beforehand. How you build that is by literally just trying a whole bunch of things, and then now building a repertoire or an arsenal of alternatives in your head. Because then if you don't feel like doing something, you now know what it looks like when you don't do it. And so once you know what it looks like when you don't do it, you can then make a better decision.
So usually, like the first thing that I, for example, that helped me with is just genuinely making it a habit, doing something that, getting the if you, I don't know if you know who Hamza Ahmed is, but he's like a big
Yeah.
YouTuber with, yeah. He said he has this thing called "eat the frog," which means, I don't know if you've ever heard about it, but eat the frog. Imagine like you're at a dinner table and you have this beautiful steak or whatever meal that you love, and you have a live frog and you have to eat both of them. Which one would you pick first? Would you eat the live frog, disgusting, and get it over with so then you can enjoy the steak? Or would you eat the delicious steak, but then keep in the back of your mind that you have to eat that frog later on, later after that? It's like the
Yeah.
disciplined people will choose to eat the disgusting frog first so it's done, it's over with, and then they cannot have those anxious thoughts about, oh, that frog is waiting for me. So this is how people, like, you know how you were in school and you delayed the homework for later and then you just didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is the same with the work tasks, for example. So doing the most difficult and the most annoying stuff as early as possible is the way that I manage to get everything done, like, as quick as possible, and basically getting more productive. Like, for example, even with my fucking task list that I have every single day, the way I'm productive
Mm-hmm.
with that is because I look at the task list and I see what's the thing that I don't fucking want to do. I wake up at 4 a.m. and I take a cold shower and then recording 3 videos for my school community today. Fucking hell. That's the first thing I start with. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
if as soon as you get that open, the rest of your day is easy. The rest of your day you're just looking forward to because you know that there's nothing more difficult waiting for you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I see that, you know.
Hmm.
And to literally answer your analogy from my
Hmm.
perspective, I'm not eating that fucking frog first. I'm gonna eat the frog, but I ain't eating that first. There's a beautiful, juicy ass steak in front of me. You think I'm gonna fuck my palate up, my mouth palate up with a damn frog first? Nah, I'm gonna eat that damn steak first, and I'm gonna enjoy it. You didn't give me a time limit as to when I gotta eat the frog. What? I got an hour to eat both? Great. I'm gonna take 10 minutes to eat the fucking steak, 50 minutes to then just suffer, 40 minutes to then just suffer and enjoy my steak and relax, and then 10 minutes I'm gonna eat the frog. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm still gonna get both of them done, but shit, I ain't eating the frog first. I got a beautiful juicy steak in front of me. You gonna hell no? I'm fuck up my whole meal. I get the point. I get the point that he's saying though, right? You do the hard things first, and then the easy things come afterwards. You know what I mean? And that's totally fine. I'm also another perspective to think about is that however you want to do it, you know, it's interesting the game of entrepreneurship. It's really a mind game. It's very interesting because how you will approach a problem versus how I will approach a problem are two completely different things. The problem's going to get
Yeah.
solved, you know what I mean? But it's a mind game. And I think what people also need to understand is that you in more ways than you think are a lot different than other people. And so the main goal with entrepreneurship isn't necessarily just to kind of follow the crowd, right? Like you're 17. You're going to be following the crowd for a little bit just because you're trying to build up the reference. But you're going to get to a point in time where you're going to start to realize, okay, I can't really do that. I mean, I'm sure you've had those moments now where you're like, I don't agree with that. I can't do that. At the end of the day, here's what matters. Getting the job done and being consistent. That's it. However you want to do that, I could care less. Right? However you want to, if you want to eat the frog first and then puke for 20 minutes and then eat the steak, great, go ahead and do that. You know, in my case, I'm gonna eat the steak first. I'm gonna sit down, chill out, relax, have a glass of wine, mind my damn business. Then I'm gonna eat the frog in the last minute and a half, and I'm gonna just suffer for a little bit and then move on with my life. You know what I'm saying? So how you do the things essentially doesn't matter. It's not about that. It's not about how you achieve your tasks or do your daily goals. It's about just still at the end of the day making sure that's still fucking done. Right? It doesn't matter because you also have to realize at the end of the day too, is that you're already doing things that 99% of people aren't doing. So you're already ahead of the curve, right? 17 years old, you're making $500 a month, bro. Like you're already making $6,000 a year. Okay. So it's like you're doing all right for yourself. That's actually not $6,000 a year. Holy cow, I'm off. But point being is that you know, you're already ahead of your curve. You're already doing what you need to get done. You know what I mean? Like for the average 17-year-old, they're not doing what you're doing right now. So one, you're already ahead of the curve. And two, at the end of the day, it's like so long as what's on that list that you just pointed out to me, so long as it's done, you know it's going to get done. So how it gets done is totally up to you, you know. But that's at least another perspective in which you can go ahead and think about it as well.
Um, I've also heard like this quote from Jay Reagan, who I've done a podcast with as well. He said like, discipline is nothing else but pain tolerance, and that's like a whole different perspective to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, it is pain tolerance, you know, because it's like when you have discipline, you're doing the same thing over and over again that you don't like. That is very painful to do, right? Every single week I look at it, I at least lose one trade or two or three every single week. So I'm looking at my account balance and it's in the negatives. I'm looking at my bank account and I'm having to spend money on, you know, features within my business, technology to make sure it runs properly, whatever the case may be, a website, right? Like it's painful, you know, and it's like it hurts because you don't like doing it. But over many years of you just doing shit you don't like to do, you get to the point where, the feeling still stays there. I think I told you
Mm.
that earlier too, right? Where like the nerves that you'll have, the feeling of
Yeah.
being nervous, like once you start hitting your goals and you'll move out, that feeling is always going to be there. It's just the more that you do it, then the better you'll be able to managing it. So better, the pain still feels the same,
Mm.
like whether I'm losing $160,000 in a month or $1.6 billion in a month, the pain is still going to hurt, right? It's just
Mm.
about managing that. So in a high, that implies having a high pain tolerance, right? You still feel it, but you manage it
Mm.
better.
So, how would you go about minimizing distractions? Whether that be people, whether that be just habits, whether that. Let me put an example. There's like
Hmm.
I hear from a lot of guys that I used to be this guy too. Whereas, if my girl was sleeping over, I was supposed to wake up at 4 a.m. the next day. I would just have that alarm clock at 4 a.m. And my girlfriend would try to hold me in bed with her. And sometimes I'd actually fold. I'm being honest, 100% honest. A lot of the time I'd fold. I'd just not keep my own promise and trying to blame it on her, whereas it was my own weakness. But also, how would you go about minimizing distractions in your life, or what are people saying that your goals are unrealistic, or just people trying to sabotage you, basically?
Right, exactly. So to minimize distractions in your life, the first thing you need to do is identify what you think the distraction is, right? So in your case, you saying your girl is the distraction. Ask her, what is she doing? Ask yourself, okay, what is she doing that's distracting? Okay,
Mm.
she's in bed and she's holding on to me and I just want to, and it's like she's just being needy. Then ask yourself, is she doing anything crazy? Is she
Mm.
doing anything that is out of the normal? No. She's your fucking girl, bro. That's how she's supposed to
Mm.
be acting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So at that point, she's not the distraction. Your dumbass just can't handle
Mm.
two things at the same time. So
Yeah.
you got to go figure it out. So when people
Mm.
say, "Oh, you gotta just limit distractions," 100%. But that also implies you being realistic as to what's considered a distraction and not.
Mm.
Because for some guys, a girl is distracting. For some guys, a
Mm.
girl is the most helpful thing in the entire world. It keeps them on the straight and narrow,
Agree.
right? For some guys, going to the gym is actually a distraction because they're in there for an hour and 2 hours. Some guys are like, if I don't go to the gym, I'm gonna lose my mind. So, in order to minimize distractions in your life, be real and understanding what they are,
Mm.
and then be real and asking yourself, can I actually do what I need to get done with this being here? If the answer is no, then move on from it because it's just.
Mm.
If you really want success, you're gonna make those tough decisions. You're not even gonna think twice about
Mm.
it. If you're hesitating when it comes to removing a distraction, then that means you don't really want what you say you want, which is
Mm.
fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you really wanted this shit, bro, like, bro, Elon Musk has, I don't know, a bajillion kids and he's ran through how many marriages? That dude says no. You think, what's so funny? He has the power, his power of saying no is so damn strong that his wife the other day did a TED talk explaining he said no to me all the time and I loved it. Like, crazy shit like that. When you are that serious about your goals and nothing's going to stop you, you
Yeah.
also realize too that, the things in your life that are considered distractions, I mean, crazy enough, you brought them into your life too. A lot of people don't
Mm.
even like take that into consideration. Everybody's saying this is so distracting. I don't know what to do. Yeah, you do, bro. How the fuck you think it got into your life? Who brought it? I did it. Shit, that dude behind you, he didn't. Your dumb ass
Mm.
did. So go handle it. So point being is that to answer your question, to minimize distractions, you identify them. And then ask yourself if you can
Mm.
actually live with them. If you know you can remove it and you don't, just know you're not serious enough about your craft, which is fine.
Mm.
And then you're gonna have to keep dealing with that distraction until you get to a point where either you give up on your dream or you give up the distraction. The choice is yours.
Yeah, that's an amazing answer to that question. I'm also like
Mhm.
thinking about. I was like in a cafe with my friend. We were working on a project together, and like he just got to like trying to help me and getting commissions from me from making sales for me. And I was like, okay, we're working together, and I would just hear like his phone, his a second phone. It was just like a bing every single moment, some notification. I'm like, even the smallest thing, like literally someone sending you an Instagram reel, and like you can't turn off your notifications. I'm like, come on, bro. Like, Like that's just the
Hmm.
level zero stuff. Like that's just a step zero. Turning off your notifications when
Yeah.
you're trying to focus on one thing. It's like look, that stuff is like obviously the obvious technical stuff, but then again, it comes to people, environment, limiting beliefs, all
Yeah,
that.
yeah, no. I mean, funny enough, those little things are really what kind of kills people. You know, it's not the big things because if it's a really big distraction, usually it's detrimental. So at that point, you're easy to remove it out of your life. It's the little things that people have trouble removing. You know, like the distraction of
Hmm.
not playing a video game, right? That's a little bit difficult. Or the distraction of not watching another motivational video
Hmm.
on YouTube. Those things are really they add up after a
Hmm.
while. You know, and you want to know how you
Yeah.
know that? Go into your screen time, go into your video
Hmm.
history, go in to see what you did that day and see how
Hmm.
much bullshit you just absorbed and you have no idea that you even did that.
Hmm.
Completely lost your mind. You know what I mean?
I get
Like
it.
if you like in your case, if your girl was an asshole, you would remove her in 2 seconds. You're a
Hmm.
pretty big distraction right now, bro. I'd remove you
Yeah.
in 2 seconds. It's those little things. Those little things are a bit harder to be able to transition, you know. So in your
Hmm.
case, yeah, somebody's phone going off two, three, four times and we're in a business meeting right now like yeah, I'm gonna get tight. I was on a call actually the other day with some guy and he had a marketing agency. He was outside having a whole
Hmm.
barbecue. I'm like, bro, what are you doing right now? What are you doing right now? Like, come on, let's actually talk about business. Like it's a what? I think I talked to him on Saturday. I'm like, bro, it's a Saturday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Tighten up. I don't care what you got going on. Get into a separate room. Be by yourself.
Hmm.
Give some time. Let's get serious about this. I'm not gonna sit here and do all this extra nonsense.
Hmm. Yeah, I get it, man. And then again, I'm thinking like that whole girlfriend stuff. A girl can actually be a compliment to your life. She doesn't have to be a distraction. But then again, yes, as you mentioned, like being in the morning, being all cuddly and shit. That's the stuff that girls do. And as a man, like that's something that I have to be able to handle better. Like like not fall. So that was like. That's not like something I should blame her. I should blame myself because at that point it's like a test for me. Like how serious am I? So yeah, I've
Yeah,
learned over time to being able to like overcome these like shit tests, if you can call them, etc. But it's not like shit tests from her. It's like shit tests from God, let's say. Like literally him testing me, if you think about it.
well, yeah, I mean that's yeah. I mean, and you got to understand too. It's like it's like, and you can't get mad at, and that's the thing though
Yeah.
too. You know what kind of pisses me off about people sometimes. People piss me off. It be pissing me off sometimes. You have the audacity to get mad at other people when you know deep down you're not even doing everything you can do to
Mm,
make your dream come true. That's
yes.
about the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. Like, it's the stupidest thing ever. People out here really getting
Yeah.
mad. They're like, you're not letting me get to my full potential. First of all, the fact that I'm even blaming you is
Yeah.
insane and shows really how not serious I am about this. You know what I
Mm,
mean? And
yeah.
especially if you do it multiple times, if you're like consistently, hey, like you're the problem, you're the problem, you're the
Yeah.
problem. No, dumbass, you're the problem. Because the fact that you keep saying this and the fact that it's the problem still here, it just lets me know now
Mm,
how not serious you actually are. You know what I mean? And people
mm,
kill me with that. They're over here getting mad at other people, blaming other people, or you know what actually was more personable for somebody like you or my age
mm.
is our parents not believing in our dream or our
Ow.
parents not actually fully being able to accept who we are. And
Mm.
that's the thing I had to get over real quick, very,
Yeah,
very
me too.
quickly, which is the fact that at the end of the day, this is something you want to do. They don't want to do that. Their time is done,
Mm.
with all due respect, right? They're in their 50s or 60s or late 40s.
Yeah.
They're just in cruise control mode until they die. That's
Mm.
how life is for them, right? They're just getting through the day by day basis without their back hurting, their knees hurting, or without drinking too much damn alcohol. That's what older parents do nowadays. And so it frustrates me when I hear young people, right, like kids your age or even people my age,
Mm.
saying, my parents don't support me. Bro, you're grown, man. You're grown. Especially as a
Yeah.
man. If you're 15, 16 years old, you're grown. Get
Mm.
your shit together and go ahead and handle your business, bro. Like the fact that you blaming somebody else for your dream,
Yeah.
that sounds crazy. And the fact that you don't think that that's crazy, all right, go ahead. Keep blaming other people. See how long that lasts for.
Wow. So,
But that's just a crazy thing.
just one last thing about this. I had this one friend that was like trying. He was like fat as fuck, and he was like, He was complaining about girls. I'm trying to tell him like, yo, get in shape. Like no girl wants to fuck a guy that's not even trying to take care of himself. And I said, no,
Shit,
see,
unless you got
this
some
is
money, unless you got a little bit of money on you, you can get as
yeah,
fat as you fucking want.
exactly. But this is not like
I
the
get what you're
thing
saying
that I
though.
was trying
Yeah,
to
of
get
course, of
to
course.
is he said, "Oh, but I don't have money to get a gym membership because it's like $50." And he says, "I don't have $50." I'm like, "Okay,
Well, then
then
that's your
make it."
first problem right there.
Yeah, and wait a second. He said like, "Oh, but my mom doesn't want to give me $50." And I'm like, "How old are you?" 17. I'm like, 17. Come on, you can make $50. You
Yeah,
can find a way.
yeah,
You're a smart
exactly.
guy. And second of all, that's still not an excuse. But even if you didn't have no zero ways to make $50, you can still do 100 push-ups. You can still go on a run. You can still squat your own body weight at home. Like it costs $0. Like you can still do something rather than nothing. You know. So I'm like,
Exactly.
yeah, man, come on now. Oh, I don't have $50 for a gym membership because my mom doesn't want to give it to me. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah,
I
you
just
know,
laughed.
and no, I mean that's how a lot of people live, you know. And I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, I don't wish anything bad on this individual, but there will come a point
Mm,
in time where he will have to make a decision, and it might be subconsciously. It doesn't need to be consciously, like actually talking to yourself. It's going to
mm,
be a decision. Either you give
yeah.
up on trying to get in shape, or you actually just get to it. And I think
Mm,
subconsciously, a lot of people choose the easier option, which is not
mm,
getting in shape, which is not saving your money, which is not learning skill sets. That's the easy way, you know.
yep.
And you'll talk about doing it for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And by then, life
Yeah.
has gone by you so fast, you're like, well, I can't do it anymore because now I'm old
Yep.
and now I just want to relax.
Yep.
And that's what happens to everybody, you know. Not hating on it, but
Mm.
I'm not going to be surprised if that happens to him
They're
too.
literally like waiting out for a handout. So, want to ask you about something. Do you have haters? And if so, what do they say?
Oh, yeah, I got tons of haters. Absolutely. I love that shit. I love haters. I really love them
What
to
do they
death.
say?
Um, I mean, it just depends, you know, because you have different levels of haters, right? You got your surface level haters. Will they say
Mm,
something like you're a scammer, you're a fraud, you're this, you're
mm,
that. Those are surface level scammers, right? Like to me, that doesn't really get anything
mm.
out of me because I'm just like that's all you
Yeah.
got, right? Like that's like the things that I say in my own head. I'm like, bro, that literally does nothing. That does not phase me.
Mm,
And then you have the second level of haters, which are the ones that like are just specific about something you said or something that you've done or a picture that you've posted.
mm.
You have those types of haters. And I
Yeah.
got those and they'll say something along the lines of you're actually fat or oh that's an ugly t-shirt or that car don't look that well. You should have bought this instead. That's a second level
Yep.
of haters. And I've gotten those too, right? Now, I don't like the surface levels because they're just a waste of time. They do nothing for me. They help my engagement,
Mm,
which I appreciate. The second level I kind of take semi seriously because of the fact that like you don't like this, okay, then you're probably not the only person that likes this. Okay, let me see, should I fix it? Whatever. Like if it's a personal thing, I don't care. But if it's like something in regards to my business, I'm gonna take it probably semi seriously.
mm,
Right? Personal page, I'm like, whatever, that's your opinion. Then you got the third level of haters. These are
mm,
people who really interest the hell out of me. They're very interesting people because not only do they have enough time to be detailed in their hate, they have enough time to think about it, and then they have enough time to know that over 30,000 people who follow me are going to see it.
mm,
So they're very interesting to me. But I do enjoy them because they are more detailed with their hate. And when you hate somebody or when you hate something, there is some truth to it. So what I do is when I get those types of comments, they'll say something along the lines of, it's absolutely crazy how you are doing X, Y, and Z, and you're talking about this and talking about that when you're not there. I think I had somebody hit me up on TikTok the other day,
mm,
and he said it's crazy. And I posted like an iffy post, right? It was kind of like you're
mm,
not going to be a millionaire day trader, something along those lines. And the hater
mm,
said something along the lines of, imagine being, imagine not being a millionaire and you talking about it as well as doing X, Y, and Z. And then he said like a whole bunch of stuff. The wording of what I'm saying is not correct. But he said that. And I was like, you know what? I was like, you know what? Let me find the truth in that. And so what I did was I read the comment and I said, okay, there might be some truth in that. And
mm,
then what that does is that motivates me though. So I like that type of haters because they will actually tell you what you're doing
mm,
wrong so then you can do it right. So I actually prefer them the best, right? The second level, I'm like, shut the hell up. The first level, I'm like, I didn't even read you. So I
Mm.
need the third level of haters. But yeah, I do have haters. I've had haters for a while now. And that's why I partially didn't answer my requests or DMs, because a lot of it, not a lot of it, but I'll have some hate stuff come in here and there, but not often.
Nate Diaz said, "If you don't like me, but you still watch everything I'm doing, you're still a fan."
Yeah, you're just a different type of fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's like a fan's a fan, though. You comment on my stuff, you helping my
yeah,
engagement, positive or not positive. Whatever the case may be.
yeah, because you're still like emotionally invested in that person, and that's like still being like a fanboy.
Yeah, and I have no problem with that, because I'm trying to, really kind of blow up on Instagram right now, because I think my following is very low, my reels are
Mm.
low, everything's low right now. So I need some engagement. So whether you hate me or like me, make sure to like and comment, so that way I can go ahead and get to the people that really actually see the value that I'm trying to bring.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. You know, what was it like buying your first ever expensive watch? Because I wanted to ask about
Um, that was surreal. That was for sure.
that.
And it was that was actually a surreal moment. Funny enough, me losing all that money wasn't surreal. Me buying that watch, though, that was surreal, because at that point I had now brought into the physical world a representation of what I had done so far. That's
Oh,
really how I view materialistic
oh
items.
shit.
Like, again, I hate posting on social media. The moment that I get to a position in my life where I
Mm.
don't need to do so, believe me, I will not fucking post a single damn thing on there. But I'm gonna post on there for a while now, just in case, just because I'm building stuff. But
Mm.
the thing is that I am somebody who likes materialistic items. I like the cars.
Mm.
I like the watches. I like the clothes. I like the food. I like the flights. I like all of that. I'm not going to sit here and say I hate any of it, or that, oh, I'm just going to drive a Toyota Camry for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Fuck no. If I can afford a nice ass car, I'm going to go buy that damn car, because I like it. It makes me feel happy. It makes me feel comfortable. And it also is a reminder, it's a physical representation of where I'm currently at in life. That's all it is. And it's a reminder of every
Yep.
single day that, okay, I am at least better than where I used to be.
What
That's really what it serves as.
what it does, it stimulates the amygdala, which is the primal part of your brain. So seeing physical stuff, it stimulates the amygdala, which is more powerful than seeing like numbers on a screen, which stimulates like your conscious mind, but the amygdala gets stimulated when it sees like something physical, like like a watch or a
No,
piece of
exactly.
gold, etc.
Exactly, and that's why, like, I think I'm also partially a really good day trader, because of the fact that it doesn't register in my head that I actually made the money that I made today. Like, it
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
that it doesn't even register to me, because I've been looking at
Uh,
numbers on the screen the whole entire time. So it's like it doesn't really register to me that much. It's not until that shit either hits the bank account. It's not really until I use that money in real life.
mm,
Then I'm like, oh crap, okay, now it's real. You know what I mean? That's
mm,
kind of how my brain works. So when I bought
yeah.
that Cartier, I mean, and the fact that I bought it brand new too, which I actually,
Mm.
not thinking about it, I shouldn't have done, because I would have saved like $2,500. But I wanted to buy it brand new, because I was like, I want a brand new watch, so I bought it.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, but it was a physical representation of where I'm currently at right now. You know what I mean? That's all
Mm.
it was, and it just served as a reminder. But that was surreal, walking out of the mall with it. I actually got a little nervous, because I was like, shit, now I got like $8,000 on my wrist. Like, that's kind
Mm.
of crazy. Like, now it's like now, it kind of made me a little bit unsettling, though. That's why even still to this day I don't really wear it too often, because it's
Mm.
like it's an unsettling feeling. You got a lot of money on your wrist. It's like, that's people are going to be
Yeah.
looking at you. So that was really the feeling I got immediately afterwards. But
Mm.
I love the watch. It's a great watch. It's a great starter watch. And, my goal is to buy at least 20, 50, 100 more.
What's like the grand scheme, like the one watch they want to get to?
The one watch that I want to get, ooh, that's difficult. There's two specific ones. You have an Audemars ceramic skeleton. So you have that
Mm.
watch. It's basically
Yeah, I know.
it's basically like it's an Audemars all black,
Yeah,
and then it has an open face.
that one looks
There's
cool.
that. Um, and then a Patek Philippe, and then a Patek Philippe
Mm.
Nautilus 5980. That's the one I want. And it's
Hmm.
I think the one that I want is a rose gold with leather strap. That's like
Hmm.
that's the one that I want. Either a leather strap, like interchangeable straps, leather strap or solid gold strap. But those watches are actually heavy as hell. I remember I tried one
Mm.
on. It's the heaviest watch I ever had. Heaviest watch ever. But like both of those watches,
Mm.
I think combined can get up to like $500,000 worth in value.
Mm.
So
So, apart from the Cartier, what was like one like real life thing that you bought that made an impact on you? It was like a car or an experience or something like that.
probably give my mom money for rent.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that probably was like the real, like the first time which I started making some real money and I gave my mom some money
Mm.
for rent. That was a real good feeling, because normally what I had done like in the past is maybe give her like part of it or maybe a portion of it, but to give her like a full month, I'm sorry, and
Yeah.
not stress about it. Let me add that part to it. To give her money and not
No.
stress about it. That probably is the best feeling in the entire world for any young man.
Mm.
You know, when you give your mom money and you just are like, okay, that by far is the best feeling in the entire world. There's no
Holy
car,
shit.
there is no shorty, there is no steak, there's no place you can go that can give you the same euphoric feeling as the first time you give your
Mm.
mom money and you don't trip about it. There's nothing better
Mm.
than that. Ever. There will be nothing
Uh-huh.
that even reciprocates that. Maybe having kids one
Mm.
day or something like that. I don't know. But for right now, ain't nothing.
Interesting. So I want to get into some rapid fire questions before we wrap up.
Go
So,
ahead.
what's the best advice you've ever been given?
Best advice I've ever been given?
Yeah.
Um, what is the best advice I've ever been given? Best advice I've ever been given. Ooh, you're not good enough.
Mm. What's the worst advice you've ever been given?
You're smart.
uh, what's your favorite place you've traveled to?
Mallorca, Spain.
Mm. What's the dumbest thing you spent money on?
Some fucking Louboutins, some Christian Louboutins, them uncomfortable ass red bottoms, man. They're the most uncomfortable shoes I
Mm.
ever spent money on my entire life. That's probably the dumbest thing I ever spent money on.
Do you have a favorite quote?
Life isn't about how many breaths you take, it's about the moments that take your breath away.
Oh shit. What's your proudest moment in your life?
Haven't had it yet.
Ah. Describe yourself in 2 words.
Fucking him.
Is there any correlation between health and wealth? And some people say.
Is there any correlation between health and wealth? Yes, 100%.
Mm.
If
What
you're healthy,
advice?
you're happy.
Mm. What advice would you give to your 17-year-old self?
Bro, get serious faster, bro. This shit ain't that fucking complicated.
Mm.
Get serious faster.
Holy shit, man. Well, Nolan, it was really fucking amazing having you on here. This was an amazing talk. What's next for you?
What's next for me currently, as I mentioned in the beginning of this interview, my goal is to build FutureFi to be the number one AI financial platform
Mm.
in the world. Our overall goal is to have 1 billion users using our,
Mm.
you know, being able to learn from our financial education, being able to embrace our AI resources, and just overall to really just be the best, fintech company out there. Really change the
Mm.
game. So that's really what's mainly next right now on a business side of things. Personal side of things, my goal by the end of next year is to have at least $10 million in managing
Mm.
capital, bare minimum. That's my goal. So, whatever I need to do to get that done, just know you actually caught me back in my zone where I don't care what needs to get done is going to get done. And whatever needs to happen, it's going to happen. Whatever anybody has to say about it. I lived in New York for a little bit. So, a saying that a lot of people in New York say, if you got a problem with me, you can suck my dick. There you go.
God damn, man. That's quite some energy there. So where can people find you?
You can find me on pretty much any social media platform. My username's the same. It's at the Nolan Ivey. V as in Victor, EYNOLAN. Also follow me on Twitter too, because that's actually where I post really how I feel. So that is again same handles, but everything's all the same handle at the Nolan Ivey.
Okay, well, guys, thanks a lot for watching up to this point. If you enjoyed this one, hit the like button, and I'll see you all on the next one. God damn, man. This